It's 4 o'clock here, so everybody, I love to start on time. I appreciate everybody jumping in and joining in on the conversation. I'm really excited about what we have in store today, and again, I'm very grateful for all you guys that join us. We got Mitch here, Mitch Harris, as always. Appreciate him jumping in, and we also got a special guest, owner of KC Crease, Dustin Manko. He's going to join us in for a nice conversation as we kind of roll through this discussion. But hopefully everyone's staying invested and involved and staying active. I know, as we kind of prolong through this time of separation, it's always easier to start off with a lot of motivation, but sometimes we hit that hump and we need a nice little bump to get ourselves remotivated. And for me, this conversation every Tuesday at 4 really helps me kind of refocus myself for the next week. So I've had a couple guys kind of join in with a workout. We're starting to do some virtual workouts. We have Mitch that could do some hand-eye, some stuff with synthetic and some off-ice. Mason Riley is also another one of our coaches, is doing some, offering up his time to do some off-ice work with goalies. And I had a couple guys join me for a nice little one-on-one Zoom virtual lesson. So we're going to post some things. I posted it on Facebook. We're also going to do some things on Instagram. But if you guys are interested in just having an accountability buddy, somebody that's going to hold you accountable, challenge you, push you, come up with some workout routines that are off ice with your body weight stuff, and some hand-eye coordination things to keep ourselves sharp. So whenever the rinks do open back up, we're ready to go. But we're here to do that. Just keep an eye out for that. So I wanted to make sure, as we're jumping in here, we understand who we're talking to. It's always awesome that we're able to kind of build and connect some of these bridges between coaches, players, and people in the hockey world. And I'm super psyched to have Dustin join us today. He's a great resource. I know, Mitch, your story and how you guys met is kind of interesting. It's actually kind of awesome too. I mean, we're here today because of technology, which also is leading into the conversation of how we met Dustin. It's kind of through social media and building a bridge and a relationship, and then seeing if you guys can hit it off. And you guys did, and you guys had the opportunity, I think, to work together at a camp as well.
Yeah, twice.
Mitch, you want to jump into the conversation and kind of give a little intro?
Yeah, for sure. So social media is awesome. It has its pros and cons, but one of the great things about social media is you really can connect with people all over the world. And Dustin and I, I started following him, and we just started, I think I commented on one of his posts, and he and I just got chatting, and we just became very good friends. Probably, Dustin, I want to say 3 years, maybe longer. And we finally, this past summer, got to work together not once but twice. We worked together at the GDI camp in Green Bay, and then we had the opportunity to work again at the USHL camp for the Omaha Lancers camp, which actually I think will be a good segue to Dustin, who is the goalie coach for the Omaha Lancers. So, Dustin, if you want to hop on in and certainly chime in on what I had to say, and then the floor is yours, my man. Thanks for coming.
Well, thanks for having me on, guys. It's a real treat to see everybody. Hi, goalies. Hope you guys are doing well. Mitch is a good friend of mine, and yeah, the GDI camp was great. Omaha was great to have you out there. Wonderful friendship. That you're right. It just kind of two guys just started talking on social media, and now I look at Mitch as one of my most trusted sources of information. I love to bounce ideas off him, and you guys are really fortunate to have both Matt and Mitch there in your area coming up with creative ways to keep you guys top of the game.
That's awesome. So, Dustin, why don't you tell us a little bit about, your background, your story. You own and operate KC Crease, so you do things similar to what we do here, camps, clinics, one-on-ones. You work with some teams. Why don't you give us a little bit of background on what you do, how you do it, and everything else?
So I grew up in Texas, which is a non-traditional hockey market, totally different than where you guys are in, the Northeast there.
Yeah.
And we did a lot of roller hockey, a lot of, skill development and stuff like that growing up. I was fortunate enough to play 4 years of Division I roller hockey with Texas Arlington. We won a ton of games. We got to the Elite Eight my senior year. Lost to Michigan State, who lost to Linwood, who went on to win it. From there, I took a break, quite frankly. And I think it's a great point for goalies that you just can't go hockey year round. And that's what I did for 15 years. I just went year round. Inline all day in the summer, ice in the winter, and I was burned out. So I needed a little break away from the game, but really I couldn't stay away too long. I was fortunate enough when I came back to realize how out of the loop I was and how much things had changed in the time I was gone. So I reached out to the Goalie Guild. You guys may know Justin, and just applied to be in that scholarship for that symposium they had. Was fortunate enough to win that, and that really kickstarted what we now know as Casey Crease, my career here as a goalie coach, because that gave me a platform to connect with a bunch of great goalie coaches from across the world, like Mitch said, and really kickstart my learning.
That's amazing. So who do you think the most interesting character that you met throughout this whole process so far would be? I mean, that's a pretty cool story where you get, the opportunity to work with Justin and you get the scholarship, and I'm sure it was amazing. What was some of the coolest things that you got to experience there?
Well, the first year, it was kind of like walking into, like a rock concert and seeing people you knew you should like kind of put up on that level there. And then there was a bunch of people like, who's that? I don't know who that is. So being kind of green and not knowing who certain people were, there was zero fear to go up and introduce myself to anybody. Hey, what level do you do? USHL? Oh, that's cool. What level are you? NHL? Oh, wow, that's really cool too. Congrats. That's awesome. In terms of, the most interesting, it would probably be the guy you guys had on last week with Dr. Ted. He's if I didn't call him the most interesting, I think he'd personally be offended by that because he has a wide array of talents, not isolated to just hockey and the mental game.
I wanted to toss you up a nice little softball. I mean, I think the conversation that we had last week with Ted was awesome. Definitely interesting to say the least. And hopefully the guys that were on the call last week really appreciated that and enjoyed it. So now we have a little bit of understanding who we're talking with. I think it's also great to know that you guys, this is a discussion. So you guys are here to listen, to hopefully be interactive as well and join in on the conversation. There's the chat feature here on Zoom. So as we're going through, if you guys have questions for Dustin, for me, for Mitch, jump in, write it down, enter it into the chat. We'll have a discussion right away about it. But I think some of the things that were on my mind that, if I was in your shoes and a goalie's shoes that are looking to kind of climb the ladder, I think the most important piece of the puzzle is what does a USHL coach or a high-level junior A coach look for? What are they looking for when they're trying to either draft, recruit, bring on, or put their stamp of approval on a starter for a goaltender in the USHL?
It's a big question. USHL is a good league, and you have to work really hard just to even get your foot in the door, and then you have to work even harder to stay on the roster and to get on the ice for the game. It's a whole nother step. So for those of you who aren't aware, with the USHL, there's two phases to our draft. We essentially have the futures draft in the first phase, where this year we're looking for 04s, and it's isolated to just 04s, similar to the WHL advanced draft or their futures draft. In our second phase, we then can draft anybody who's in our draft eligible window, so anyone who's not aged out at that point. So when we're looking for goalies for our draft feature, there's actually two different lenses, right? Because our phase one guys, the 04s this year, 05s next year, are going to be obviously a little more raw by definition, right? Because they're younger in your curve. You haven't had as much time to develop your game. So I'll be looking for something different with that section than I would with our phase two, who could be, in this case, everyone between 05 and the 01 this upcoming year. So I may be comparing a 17-year-old to a 20-year-old and looking for different things of different guys. But to keep it as broad as possible, in our phase one for our younger guys, we're looking for just foundational pieces, right? Can you skate? Do you know what save selections are appropriate? I seen, for example, just this morning I was watching footage on an 04 who was in the reverse when his team had the puck behind the net. Like no pressure. So those are the things I look for is, are we choosing the right saves at the right time? Do we have the correct tools? And then a little bit more in depth, we're looking at how we're managing the game. Are we consistent in our applications of certain depths, save selections, Are we coming up with big saves? Are we playing it when we should cover it? Are we covering it when we should play it? That type of stuff. And then as we look and we get closer to the phase 2 and the older guys, we just look for those traits and attributes to be a little bit more refined and a little more polished.
I think that's a great point, actually. And I think sometimes when people are having discussions, it gets diluted between what is important now and what is going to build towards the future. And I think sometimes when you're talking about the different age groups, you're right. For the futures draft, you're looking for the foundational pieces to make sure that they can build, they can grow, they can be successful when they get there. And the other ones, you're kind of looking for a here and now. Let's draft somebody. He's a little bit older, a little bit more refined. He can be game ready to step in right away. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys were following our team last year, but we had a great tandem last year with Kyle McClellan, who's going off to Mercyhurst, and Jacob Dobis, who is, on the draft. He's on the central scouting list as the, I think, 20th goalie among North American goalies. So Kyle, unfortunately, aged out. I would have loved to have him another year, but now that he's going to D1, we got to find someone right away to fill in for the secondary position, and someone to push Jake to find starts. So that lens and how I'm viewing that particular candidate is going to be completely different than the 04 that I'm looking at, right? If you're an 04, again, I'm looking to see, are your fundamentals there? What's your game sense like? Does the game move fast on you, or you seem like you're moving really, is the game moving slowly around you? We've all been in those situations where we're having an off day and nothing's making sense and everything's just going sporadic. And we've had days where the game seems like it's in slow motion. So those are the things, again, we're looking for the younger age. And at the higher age, I need to see that refinement. The more minute details that I wouldn't obsess over with an 04, I'm definitely going to look at a little harder with, a 2000, a 99 or what have you.
Yeah. I mean, I think, a great question here from Jacob. He wrote, can you go more in depth about controlling the game aspect? I think that's a good discussion point. How do we as coaches, and Mitch, I'll give Dustin the first go, and then Mitch, I'll let you talk about it, and then I'll give you my opinion. How do we as coaches dissect a goalie and be able to identify that this goalie is controlling the game? I mean, that's a pretty generalized term, but each of us have a different idea of what that means. Dustin, for you, what does controlling the game as a goaltender mean? And how do they, how do we train, or how do we improve some of those aspects to do that better?
It's a great question, Jake. So thanks for chiming in on that. So as I mentioned, I grew up in Texas. I'm a Cowboys fan. I know a lot of you guys are in the heart of Eagles country, so please don't hold that against me. But we talk about the term game manager a lot, whether it's at the USHL level or with my Pee-wee guys or younger or girls. And when we talk about the game management aspect of it, it's understanding the situation and the context that you're in. It's little things. Do you let a puck hit your pad and then just go off wherever, or do you use your stick to steer that into the net? Are you freezing pucks that are hitting your gloves and going in, or are they bobbling out of your glove and now your team's hemmed in for a couple minutes? Things like, where are we in the game? What's the flow of the game like? If my team is dominating, we want our goalies to keep the puck going, right? Your team's got the flow, they're energized, they're dominating, the play's all down there. Touch the puck, make the save, get it out, and get it back to them. But at the other end, if we're getting hemmed in and we're just having those games where we're getting outshot consistently, the pressure's all in our zone, I'm looking for guys who know this is on. I got to slow this down, and let's take as many whistles as we possibly can until our guys get our feet underneath. Stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Mitch, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I don't want to repeat what Dustin said, but there's a lot of things that go into controlling the game. One of the things as the goalies that know me with GoalieDr is I'm big on puck play. And simple controlling the play is, can you stop a puck on a rim? That can be a huge difference for your team, for your defenseman getting back to a puck, or an ongoing forechecker to pick up a puck and coming in on a mini breakaway. As Dustin said, the rebound control. Are you, with your blocker, are you just knocking it straight down so there's going to be a rebound or two, or is it going off to the side so there's no rebound? For a shot on the ice, can you deflect it out of play? And we have some of our older goalies here with the velocity of the shots. We should be able to ramp up a puck into the netting. It just should be a skill that we have. We shouldn't just be relying on our pads. And there's a time and a place where we need to control the puck and get a stoppage, as Dustin said. There's a big scramble in net. It's a 5-on-3. Am I poke checking it, just making my defense work harder? No, or am I doing my best to cover a puck? So it's a big thing, and that's a big difference between a D1 and a D3 goalie, between a USHL and NA goalie, between a triple and a double A goalie and D and A. So, Matt, your thoughts?
I mean, I think you guys all hit on very good points, and I think for me, it's tempo. It's reading the tempo of the game. You know, identifying, just like Dustin said, you know, are we controlling the momentum? Do we need a break? You know, allowing us to control the tempo of the game can help improve our team be more efficient, and also allow our coaches to be more efficient in the way that they manage the game. You know, sometimes when we're all getting played and we're getting hyped up, you know, there's a lot of times where things will be going back and forth. And I was a head coach. I know sometimes you get hectic on the bench too. And sometimes you just need a whistle so you can get your lines back in order, and just slow the game down and get a little bit more control. And knowing when a goalie, if you can identify that, that really is a big asset. Controlling the play, you know, playing the puck. You know, I grew up watching Marty Berger, you know, Ron Hextall. I love playing the puck. I was a smaller goalie. I was a really good skater. I thought that would be a great opportunity to be a third defenseman back there. So, A, my D aren't getting hit every time they're going to get the puck behind the net. B, we're getting out of the zone more effectively and efficiently, which in turn leads to less chances in the defensive zone. If you're going north, the best offense is a great defense. Sorry, the best defense is a great offense, rather. So if we're able to get the puck moving north faster, that allows us to reduce the opportunities. My dad used to tell me that the best save you can make is a save you don't have to make. So if you can control the play, even if it's just, you know, being in the right position against a forward when he's getting an opportunity to shoot and he gets his head up and all he sees is you might force him to have a second look, hold the puck a second longer. Maybe he makes a different decision. Those are all aspects of controlling the play. You know, Dustin touched on when goalies are down too much, when the play's below the goal line and everyone's in this RVH all the time. You know, there's a time and place. And some guys that are a little bit bigger can use a little bit more freely than some of the guys that are smaller. But overall, I think widely it's way overused. And as a coach, you know, we're looking for those pieces. Everyone's so good. And at Dustin's level, USHL, it's so competitive to get there. It's a really good league. There's a lot of very good players that play there, have gone through there to have exceptional Division I careers, professional careers. So once you get there, it's an honor. But it's also, as a coach, you're looking for ways to differentiate between goalies, and that patience, that understanding, that gameplay is a way that we have our own opinion on what we're looking at, and hopefully can identify the goalies that we're looking for. Another question from Jacob. Would you suggest just stick handling to work on stick play right now, or another thing you can think of? So this is a question about what we can do right now at home. And he's talking about some stick play. You know, any suggestions? Dustin, you run camps, clinics, and I'm sure you're in a situation like we're at right now, where I'm sure you have your goalies and trying to keep them involved and invested in the training process at home. What do you think some good things that they could do, or training tools that they could use to improve their stick control or stick handling?
Lots of options. I mean, Mitch is fantastic in terms of coming up with creative ideas, and we've seen that with the hand-eye stuff, the new switched on and the Helio sticks, and he's got all these cool gadgets. So it's definitely cool to see what he's been coming up with. I like to keep it simple, right? Think about all the different things you can do at home with a hockey ball or a golf ball or a racquetball or anything like that. Whether it's stick handling, you know, in between your feet, outside your feet, doing spins or just hand-eye stuff. I mean, there's really no one thing or any limit to what you can come up with. A couple things that we suggest to our goalies is always work on, you know, the long grip where you have, you know, your hand at the knob and the other one on the stick, as well as the short grip where you're holding it at the paddle where the paddle meets the shaft, and variations in between. You know, we see a lot of guys doing the end, one end or the other. How often do you work on holding it mid-shaft and mid-paddle at the same time, like you're down on one knee? So think about the types of ways you would want to play the puck, the ways you would get the puck in the game, and then try and build drills around, or ideas to play with around those ways that you could translate to something in your garage or in your street or what have you.
Mitch?
Yeah, I mean, Dustin, I appreciate the compliment. You know, during these times, I am trying to get creative, but you're right. Sometimes simple is best. And Jacob, I mean, and all you goalies for that matter, you know, a golf ball and your stick, if you can with your glove and blocker, please get used to that. But just walk around and stick handle. I have a couple of videos coming out soon, which will be a little more creative, some more things involved with it. But I mean, really, it's about, we have so much time right now. Grab your stick, grab your glove, grab your blocker, and just stick handle. Try kicking it off your foot. You know, if you have a wall that's not a good wall, go in your garage or wherever where mom and dad says you can do it. You know, pass maybe a lacrosse ball against the wall, stop it with your foot, put it back onto your stick. Try different various stick handling patterns where you're going wide, narrow. I have a good switched on app stick handling drill coming up pretty soon for that. And obviously, if all of you can reach out to Matt and me for different ideas, and if any of you do one of these virtual 30-minute Goalie Doctor sessions, I mean, we can spend as much time as you want on stick handling. We could do 30 minutes of stick handling. I mean, I'd love to do that, to be honest. So, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just staying creative. We're all in a new world right now and trying to be as resourceful as we can with the things that we have at home. But understanding there isn't 100% perfect way to do it. There's no direct answer on what you need to work on. It's really thinking about you as an individual. And we talked about this a little bit with Ted and had a conversation with Tucker as well about mindfulness and self-awareness. You know, think about things that you want to improve upon. You know, if you're looking and thinking about your body as a muscle, and let's just say you want to get stronger in your chest or your arms, you're going to work out different exercises to improve those muscles. You can do the same thing with stick handling and stick control. And there's ample amount of resources out there on YouTube. I mean, Mitch throws stuff up there more than anybody else. And I think that's it's a compliment that he has so many good ideas of trying different things. I'm a big advocate of keeping things simple. I think simple is best. I think the best players in the world do the simplest things the best, and they do it the most consistent. And that's really what separates them. I mean, there's obviously, you look at guys in the NHL, Division I, USHL, there's always they do have special attributes that make them stand out, but they also do all the simple little things to the best of their ability. And I think that comes down to stick control and coming up with training. This is a weird world we're living in, but if I was in your shoes, I would be thinking about how can I train differently? We're in this new world where we're doing Zoom meetings and we're having discussions. You're probably learning virtually with your teachers. It's some different for some, and some it's the same for the guys already were learning virtually and had the homeschooling. But you can restructure your schedule to kind of really improve upon the aspects that you want. This is almost like a hard reset. If you can look back and think about who you were before this started and who you want to be when it starts back up, that's your time to kind of build the difference. And for guys that want to work on the stick control, get a tennis ball out there. Mitch said, use a golf ball. Just get creative. Just hold your stick. Your stick needs to be in your hand. The more that you're holding onto your stick and using it, the better you're going to become, no matter what you're doing. There's no 100% effective and efficient way. It's just kind of coming up with ways to train for yourself. I mean, you look at different guys that are pretty good puck handlers. You look at, Marty Turco came up with the Turco grip, and we had, Marty Brodeur, who was the underhand guy. Find ways that you feel comfortable and practice it. I mean, it just comes down to coming up with a routine where you're going to engage your mind, engage your body, and then build, hopefully, repetition. And that's how we get better in any type of training environment. I would love to get back on the topic of the climbing the ladder. You climb the ladder as a coach, and you should be very proud of your accomplishment. Mitch, I'm very proud of you and your accomplishments in the last couple of years, be able to climb, where we started to where we're at. How do these goalies continue to climb their ladder in their journey? If you could have some words of advice, Dustin, to keep their focus on the process and also, provide some guidance on climbing the ladder and hopefully aspiring to get to the USHL or the North American Hockey League or juniors or, for other guys, college. I think that's a big aspiration. And you see some high-level goalies, not only for your team, but across all the USHL. There are some really good goalies in that league. But even inside that small bubble, you can definitely tell between the top 5% of the league and the bottom 5% of the league. It's how do we separate ourselves between those levels, not only just do we get there, but also be successful whenever they do.
Good question. And I'm glad you used the word process because it's definitely a process, right? And the thing I think guys, even at our level, and I hear it from my D1 friends and guys who play there and guys we work with, and even at the lower levels of pro hockey, you got to remember this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. You're not making the NHL tomorrow, right? My friends who play in the Coast League are not jumping to the AHL and then to the NHL the week after that. It doesn't work like that, right? So the one thing we always come back to is, did we get better today? And if we get better by 1%, that's great. If we get better by 100%, that's great too, right? But we got to just get a little bit better every single day. Whether that means we got a little better at stick handling, or we did better at our nutrition or our water or our sleep or any aspect of the game, mental, physical, it doesn't make a difference. Just get better at something every day. And then keep again in mind that it's a process that's going to take you years, right? Some of you guys are pretty young. Some of you guys may be a little older, but this could go until your late 30s, at a high level. We saw Tim Thomas didn't make the NHL until what, 32, yep. 33, something like that. And then he won a Conn Smythe and a Cup. But when we're on the ice, to make the next level and to continue to climb that ladder, first you got to be playing, right? And it doesn't matter if you're playing A or house or AA or AAA or whatever. You got to get on the ice, right? Because I would rather take, if I had my choice between a guy who played 25 games of AA hockey on an average team, all else being equal, and I had my choice of a guy who played 3 games of AAA but sat the bench for 24 games, 25 games of AAA, I'm going to take the guy who had more experience playing the lower level. So play. Get on the ice and play wherever you can, and then dominate that game, that level. And just be the best that you can every day at the level you're at. And eventually you'll get to a point where this level, you've maxed it out like a video game, and now you get promoted to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a big point, a good point. You should be, if you want to continue to climb the ladder and have the trajectory up and play, a lot of goalies, we talk about this and we say, where do you aspire to be in 5-10 years? And everyone always says, I want to play college, I want to play NHL. And I love those dreams, but we also have to be realistic about it. This is a very, very competitive position in a very, very competitive sport. So for you to really be successful, you have to be special. And I mean that in all the words possible, right? You have to be special in the way that you train, your process, your habits, your dedication, your commitment. And also, let's call a spade a spade. You got to be big. There's some smaller goalies that are going to find success. And I want them to be successful. I cheer on the small goalies. I want them to make a comeback. I was a small goalie myself, but let's just look at the numbers. These guys that are getting Division I scholarships, these guys that are getting drafted are bigger goalies. So, mom and dad, whenever they're pushing you, they're challenging you, and coaches are telling you, let's be realistic and understanding. If mom and dad are probably 5'8", you're probably going to be around that 5'8" area. That doesn't mean that we can't play at a very, very high level, but you have to realize that your path is going to be different. The USHL is a great stepping stone to bigger and better things for the Division I, for the pro, but there's many other avenues to be able to continue to prolong your career, to be able to progress and climb the ladder and possibly have an opportunity. I mean, just like Dustin said, you have to be able to manage some adversity and be able to have the faith and the commitment to be able to handle some of the challenges that are ahead to be able to be successful. And for you to make sure that you have faith in yourself. I mean, for me, I always wanted to play in the NHL. I got very fortunate that I had a couple cups of coffee with a few pro teams, and I was able to coach at the NCAA level. And for me, it was always trying to, just like Dustin said, get better every day, control the things that are within our control, but also stay motivated, stay hungry. If you want better, be better, do better. attack every day. And that's kind of where we're at right now, where you can restructure your day, you can control your schedule, you can really allocate your time into improving if you embrace the process. Mitch, you got anything to add on to that?
No, I mean, it's really about, I mean, the other thing that, to look at and to think about, and I know we don't always think about, is how do we carry ourselves at the rink? Do we dress appropriately? Do we, when we're talking to our parents, do we talk to our coaches? Do we have our hat on? Do we have our hat off? It's a sign of respect to not have your a ball cap on. Things like that. When you're going to the snack bar, are you getting chicken fingers and fries? Or are you getting a smoothie? Or are you getting something that's relatively healthy? They say, and Dustin and Matt, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the second you pull in the parking lot, someone's watching you. It's just a fact. They watch you walk into the rink. They watch you walk into the locker room. They watch you during warm-ups. They watch you if you're on the bench, how your mannerisms on the bench. They watch you as you leave. So just think about that. And obviously we can't always be 100% on 100% of the time. But we have to use our time, and we have to really think about, if we want to play at that next level, that Dustin may be in the stands one game. And if he sees you walking out slouched over, or you throw your stick, or scream mom and dad, or tell someone to go F off, guess what? You just lost your chance with Dustin, most likely, because there's a lot of other goalies out there who want that spot who didn't do that.
I think that's a great kind of shift into the next discussion. It's scouting, right? Dustin, how do you guys identify goalies? How do you identify those goalies for the draft? I know what you're looking for, but are there different leagues? Is there a database? I mean, for me, my story is kind of cool. I kind of got noticed awkwardly. I was playing for the Little Flyers junior team, and we were going to a showcase in the summer, and it was at Mercyhurst, and we were playing the Brockville Braves. And that year they had actually Wayne Simmons on the team and a couple other players that moved on and jumped on to bigger and better and played in the NHL. And we were getting handled. We were getting outshot by a lot, but I think it was like 1-0, and they were doing 25-minute halves. And at the end of the first half, their captain, they were taking some liberties on me, and their captain came through the crease, and I defended myself. I got tossed out of the game. I got undressed, showered. I was sitting in the stands, and after that, the game kind of got a little out of control, and something happened, and one of the individuals that I was sitting next to said something to me. I defended my actions. He said, "You're an idiot. You were the only reason why your team was in this, and you're the reason why this got out of control." And I answered it with I answered it. I had to defend myself if nobody else would, and I needed to give my team a spark. And he liked the answer, gave me a card. He was actually a scout for Brockville. They invited me up to a tryout. After that, I made the team. I played there for a couple years. I came back, and that led into Newman and everything else. So you don't know when you're going to have someone watch you or how you're going to build that bridge. It's always about how you carry yourself in all environments. It's very easy to get painted with one fell swoop of a paintbrush if you don't control all aspects. So you could be the greatest thing since sliced bread and handle everything. And if a coach is watching you walk through the lobby and you drop something and you don't pick it up and put it in the trash can, it could be as simple as that, as you're getting your name crossed off the list. So Dustin, jump on in and let me hear your thoughts on that.
You guys both nailed it. I mean, we have seen goalies so far that can play, and quite frankly, I'm sure they're going to end up in our league, whether it's next year or in the future. But we crossed them off because they, personality-wise and their culture, doesn't fit with what we want to build, right? And I think the trash can example is a great one, right? I've seen kids where they came out, not dressed appropriately, bad attitude and bad body language, and it was an easy call because we have so many goalies to look through. I mean, the list is almost endless, right? There's always another goalie I can watch or we can watch. And I'm fortunate that in Omaha, we've got some really good goalie people in our scouting department. So it's not just a matter of me finding kids or finding prospects or players. It's a collective team effort all the way around because we have, like I said, some really smart people in that room. I'm probably the dumbest guy on the team, to be honest with you. But, we make a list of, kind of what we're looking for, and then we start, working our way down, and we'll look at the NOL and we'll look at the BC, and, the other junior leagues across the country, and we'll work our way all the way down to the AA levels. One more thing, though, to the point of, you never know who's watching when. Hockey TV is something that we use. I use it very heavily. And if your game's on there, that could be the game that I saw, right? And we have so many guys to look at. It's very quickly, we try real hard not to make a snap judgment on someone and to really understand who they are as a player, what they're trying to accomplish. But, when I see a guy and let's say I've just watched someone, I'm like, this is a player I need to consider. And I go watch the next guy or girl, because, the girls get their love too for colleges and whatnot. But scouts in general will say, if I'm comparing you to X and I see not up to X immediately, you're probably not going to get another game that I'm going to watch. It may be your off game. But if I see that you have consistently through your numbers, 930, 920, 925, 928, 921, and I see one or two 870s in there, we're going to give you more time. But if it's all 870s, probably not going to get another look. Does that answer the question you asked, Matt?
Oh, yeah. I think, yeah. I mean, that's kind of the measuring device is where are you looking for, what are the numbers that you think are things that these guys should be striving for? Obviously, everybody's situation is different, and we all have different opinions on numbers, and goals against average is more of a team average. The save percentage is more of the point where we're looking for to really judge the goalies. There's also this new weighted average discussion about how we vary between goals that go in versus from high percentage scoring opportunities versus low percentage opportunities. And there's different matrices that they're trying to do for like Moneyball. Do you guys use any of those whenever you're trying to verify or look or scout for any of these goalies?
I'm going to keep some of the stats that we record internally as something a little bit private.
Okay. Yeah,
out of
sure.
respect
Sorry.
for the team. But no worries. But what I will say is that I do think that there is more to the number side of it than just goals against and save percentage. And we're aware that you guys, and it happens at our level, it happens above us, and definitely at y'all's lower levels, where the shots are not accurate, right? We know that's going to be a factor, but we're just still looking at save percentage overall more as a consistency score, right? Because we assume that the shots are going to be inaccurate, pretty equally distributed across everybody, you know?
Yeah.
And so I can understand if you're seeing the same type of performance in terms of your output game after game, that this is probably something either an outlier or the average for this goalie. But yeah, there's definitely some internal metrics that we keep that look at non-traditional statistics. But again, when we go back to making a scouting call or we're looking at people, it's more about understanding who they are and seeing the patterns that they like to deploy with their positioning, their save selections, and the game management stuff that we talked about earlier.
That's awesome. I mean, leading into the next point of discussion, whenever you're training, and this was your first year with Omaha, I'm sure that was an awesome experience. What were some of the most memorable pieces of working with the USHL program? And for those who don't know, USHL programs are like minor pro programs and sometimes treated better. And they do have a good following. It's a very sweet environment to play in. Some of these buildings are awesome with a great fan base, and it's electric in there. But it's also like a business where the guys are showing up every day, going to work, putting in the time, the effort, doing film review, making sure that they're getting their workouts in. I'm sure some of these guys are still going to school and doing other community involvements. I mean, I know when I was playing juniors, we used to go to schools and read to kids and be involved in any way that we can to make sure that we have fans that come watch us play. What do you think some of these guys that you're dealing with or for you was a cool experience this year?
The first road trip was always cool, just to get on the bus, you know, and go somewhere else and walk into someone else's building. That was pretty cool. The home opener was electric because we had actually played a few games on the road before our season opened at home, and just to see our building filled up. You know, we average, I think, 1,800 season ticket holders. I think we have 3,000 that generally come to the games. So it's a big building, you know, great fan base. for me, it wasn't so much one specific thing, and there's a couple like really cool saves that, you know, the guys made, but more for me, I really enjoyed seeing the growth of our goalies, you know, because they started out in one place and we worked really hard throughout the year to build systems for them and refine things and put polish on, you know, the stuff that they weren't great at and really build up the stuff they were good at. And just the leaps and bounds that they made this season, I'm really proud of the progress they made, more so than, you know, anything one specific highlight that, you know, stuck out to me.
So working with, and I'll propose this to both you, Mitch, and to Dustin, working with high-level goalies, and, you know, we all work with high-level goalies. Mitch, you're working with Division III, you know, you have USHL. How does that help you improve your coaching style to then transfer it down to the younger levels? How do we instill some of the things that we're working with the older guys into the younger kids to build that foundation piece, but not overcomplicating things? Because obviously the level that we're coaching at, whenever you guys are coaching at, you know, the upper echelon, the USHL and the Division III, is a different game than the goalies that are playing to get there. So how do you translate that, and how do you mash that up to give the best tools and resources for the goalies to get to the level that you're at? Mitch, you want to start us off since
So for me, I don't like to change my style too much, depending on the level of goalie. Obviously, I mean, when it comes to the higher level goalies, the my Bryn Athens guys, you know, we can talk a little bit more on the technical side, whereas with the younger guys, I like to keep it more feel. You know, with the younger guys, if you talk a little too much, you just see you're losing their interest. So I think with the older guys, you can talk a little more, whereas with the younger guys, I think it has to be a little bit more hands-on. Sometimes might involve with you know, physically having to move a stick or a glove or a blocker, whereas with the older guys, you can just say, you know, move that a quarter inch or whatever, and they'll kind of get that. But I really don't like to change my style too much. I'm me, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Obviously, I adjust to my audience to a degree, but my coaching style is my coaching style, and I try to keep it simple. Otherwise, I'm going to be a Jekyll and Hyde and be two different people. I can't even speak today. Wow, I don't even know what day it is anymore. So I try to keep it relatively the same, to be honest.
Mitch, you're spending too much time in your basement during quarantine here.
Clearly. I need oxygen down here.
Yeah. Dustin?
You know, it was a good reminder this year that you don't know everything. And I think one of the pitfalls that some of the coaches get into, and I'm guilty of this as much as anybody, I think, is when you're working with younger guys, it's often we're showing a way. And this is the way that works for me or works for multiple people, and it's kind of explanation. And one of the big takeaways I got was, you know, the guys that we're working with at the higher levels, whether it's Omaha or some of the D3 guys I'm lucky enough to coach, they see things, and they may see things differently, you know? And so it's a lot more conversational about, why did you do this in this way? What clues did you see? You know, what did you read in that play that caused you to choose this particular item, whether it's depth, save selection, you know, an angle or a skating mechanism from point A to point B. And having that conversation really helped me kind of understand my goalie, because I had two different guys that played two different styles. And really that would help me in turn become a better coach to them, because I knew what they needed and I knew what they were looking for. So I knew how to better anticipate what we would do coming out of that situation.
Okay. You know, when we're stuck at home now, do you think watching game film would be good? You know, I've been hungry for any type of hockey, and every once in a while they've had some replays from old past NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, and I find myself watching those games and reliving it. But I also remember when I was a little bit younger, I used to watch hockey and just emphasize just on the goalie. I'm sure when we were all younger, technology wasn't so prevalent, so we had to find ways to learn. But now you guys are very fortunate that if you go onto YouTube or NHL.com, you can watch clips and highlights and see different films of these goalies and really start dissecting how they play and think about the game. Just like what we're doing now, we're having a discussion. That's really what we can do the best right now while we're away from the game, is improve our mind. improve our intelligence or our understanding of the game. And I think that's a big piece of understanding and getting better and developing. Watching a game and seeing how a goalie plays, and then having a discussion with, if no one else is there, have a discussion with dad, mom, your brother, your sister. If nobody else is there, a dog, cat, or just talking out in your mind, watching the game and trying to understand why goalies play different ways and why it works for them. Having an understanding of how things get done, but also knowing that there's more ways to get things done than just X. And we all have different styles. We all learn differently. We all have to make sure that this is a good opportunity to find different ways to improve our hockey IQ and our intelligence. Now, while we're at home, Dustin, I know every day or every other day or whatever, Mitch, we're posting stuff goalies can do at home, and we're offering this virtual stuff to try out and see if it works. Dustin, is there anything that you're offering or instructing your goalies, either with the USHL or with your KC Crease, to do at home that they can improve upon, or pieces of progress that you think are most important for them to develop in this time?
Yeah, I mean, we're offering a lot of the same programs you guys are. So, the virtual training, the Zoom, we've been doing that to varying degrees of success. I think every goalie at this point should know that, you got to eat right. So make sure you're not just loading up on Skittles, but you're having something green every day. You're drinking your water, getting your rest. But yoga, cardio is a big one. We want to make sure we've got the legs and the stamina to go when we need to go. The stick handling, but getting back to your original question there, yeah, the film is an invaluable resource, and not just the highlights. I mean, it's easy to go on YouTube, like you said, and just type in, Carey Price highlights, and you'll see, him making sprawling glove saves and flashy windmills and stuff like that. But really watch like the meat and potatoes of the game. Like, what are they doing? How are they skating? And just focus on one thing for a period or even a whole game. Are they using when are they using C cuts versus a T push versus a shuffle? When are they going top of the crease, toes out, versus when are they staying toes in or even middle depth? Mike Smith plays totally different than John Quick, right? Two different guys, two different styles. So yeah, I think there's a lot to be learned from watching footage, and then understanding who you are and what style is your style. For example, I love Quick. Like, that's cool goaltending, right? He's down the crab, he's swinging all over the place, he's just really frenetic. But me, I could never play that way. So I need to understand that while Quick may be one of my favorite goalies, that's not the style I, as a goalie, would need to emulate in which to be successful.
I respect that. I think as we're going to go and we're all progressing through our own part of our journey, it's really being focused on where we want to go, also reflecting on where we came from, and then trying to build a process now so we can get to where we want to build towards. I really do appreciate everybody kind of jumping in and joining in on this conversation. Does anybody have questions or a topic of discussion that you guys would like for us to propose to Dustin or to Mitch? As we're going through here, it's always very fortunate enough that we're able to have these type of discussions. I think it's sometimes not enough time in the day whenever we're at the rink to really break things down and slow things down. I think that's a big piece. When I was playing juniors in college, we had a structured time where we were doing video, where we have a chalk talk. And I know for me as a player, that was a really good time of growth and understanding not just my job and role as a goalie, but also how I fit into this piece of a defensive core. And we talked about controlling the game earlier. I was very efficient in barking out orders and controlling the game from my crease because I was very vocal and we were always on the same page. And I did that no matter what team I played on. But the understanding of the game really allowed me to have that confidence to bark out those orders. And I think now we can watch film. You can watch, if your favorite team's the Flyers, look up some Flyers games. If you like this goalie or that goalie, see if you can find some good games of that goalie. But make sure you're watching more than just the highlights. I think that's a perfect piece. We always want to instill confidence in our goalies, and sometimes you watch just the highlights, and those are really fun saves to make, especially in training environments and throwing the windmill and doing some cool stuff for video, and sometimes we're more focused on looking good than playing good. So for you guys to remember, it's about consistency and doing the simple things right and correct, and having a better understanding of the game. a better understanding of you, and training towards that really, really assists in you finding your success and hopefully continuing to climb the ladder. We got a question here from Declan. Would a tennis ball be better than a racquetball for hand-eye and glove work? I think we touched on this in the first week. So Mitch, I know that this was a good point of conversation for you. We talked about the racquetball, the cross ball, tennis ball, and everything else. You want to just touch on that real quick?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's no right or wrong. There's definitely no right or wrong. It's what are you trying to get out of it? Obviously, a tennis ball is going to bounce not as much as a racquetball. A lacrosse ball is going to be heavier. So it's really what are you trying to accomplish in that training session? Are you looking for speed? Are you looking for building technique? I'm going to post a drill this week where you're doing a corner catching drill where you're basically standing in a corner, you're tossing the ball from one corner into the other and catching it. With a racquetball, that's one's going to be kind of hard. With a tennis ball, it's a little bit easier. So it's about progressions. How much bounce do you want? If you're doing a drill where you don't want as much bounce, say you're bouncing a ball, you have to get up as quick as you can and then grab it, you might want the tennis ball because it doesn't bounce as much. So again, there's no right or wrong. It's a matter of what are you trying to accomplish?
I think we got another great question. And Dustin, I'll give this to you. Would it help to watch goalies let in goals, as in watching not just the good side, but the mistakes of goalies as well in film?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. And, whether it's in Omaha or with the guys we work with privately that do our video review service, we make a point to show the goals. You're going to have to sit through it. And it was funny because there was one point this year where one of my goalies said to we were chatting after a game, and he said to me, yeah, as soon as that one went in, I was like, that's going to go on video. We're going to talk about that come Monday morning. So, it's definitely good because you can learn from it. You can see, did I read something wrong or did I just get beat clean? If I did something wrong, what was that? Did I not hit my right spot? Was I out of position? Did I choose the wrong save? There's a lot you can learn. So yeah, definitely watch the positives and see what you can do, what you can copy and borrow, but definitely also watch the negatives. And we usually start with those. We would start with the negatives on here's the things that our goalies did poorly, or here's, the breakdowns and the clips from your game that we think we can be better at. And then we would end with the positives for sure to get them feeling better again.
Yeah. I mean, I think every goal is stoppable. There's a difference between could have stopped it and should have stopped it, and understanding the difference. And obviously you need to see both sides of the coin. You need to know what is expected of you to make the save in which situations. What is a situation that's classified as a low percentage scoring opportunity? When we're doing that, you understand in the low percentage scoring opportunities, it's your job to make those saves. That's what's expected of you. Just like if you're taking a math test and you have 10 problems in front of you, you get 2 problems wrong out of the 10, you're going to go back and look at the 2 problems that you got incorrect and say, what did I do? So then you can improve upon that next time. You're not going to look back at the 8 that you did right. You're expected to do that, right? So it's on both sides of the coin where you need to be able to understand what is expected of you. The more film, the more game, the more time you watch, the better understanding that you have of that. And then also understanding your strengths and weaknesses of what you can do and what you can't do, because we all need to self-reflect and hold ourselves accountable. Some goals that go in it's our fault. We made a mistake. We could have made that save. And there's other ones that were a triple screen deflection that ended up backdoor off of a rebound. And those are hockey goals, and knowing the difference. And if you understand the difference between the two, you have a little bit of a different mindset of how you're reviewing that video. You can be very, you can critique yourself very strongly in some situations. In other ones, you can try and look at it generally and say, what could I have done a little bit better? I understand it's a really hockey play and goals go in, but if I maybe held my feet a little bit longer, maybe if I directed that rebound a little bit differently, maybe I ate that puck up, 2 shots ago, there wouldn't have been that second or third opportunity. And again, that comes back to controlling the game. And you need to know both sides of the coin there. But, I'm really excited to have this conversation. Does anybody else have any questions? I'm really psyched that we were able to kind of catch up here with Dustin and start providing him as a resource for you guys. Just like last time with Ted, he offered a lot of a good wealth of knowledge. And Dustin, we really appreciate your insight and your knowledge, and we'll promote and help pass along any information that you have. I love building a bridge here with all the other goalie coaches around the area, and I'm really humbled that you would allocate some time to have a discussion with our goalie. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's been a real treat.
Perfect. So we got one last question. I don't have any ice or anything like that. So what would be good to kind of stay used to the ice feeling? So anybody have any insight? So obviously we're not on the ice. Is there anything that you can try to use or train to mimic, or is pretty much what we have, everybody's on the same page, and we try and find the best solution possible? Mitch, you want to jump on?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I mean, I'm very fortunate that I have my synthetic studio in my basement, and my billet's taking full advantage of that 2 or 3 times a week of skating. But aside from him, most people aren't skating. I really look at this time as an opportunity to work on other things. We're all, Matt and I, we work on your skating a lot during the season. It's very taxing on your lower body. I think now is really a great time. As much as we miss it, I think now is an opportunity to work on the other things. And I promise all of you, when you step back on the ice, it's like riding a bike. You're going to hop out there and you're going to fly. So I understand the frustration. I know Matt wants to be on the ice. I know I want to coach on the ice. Dustin wants to be on the ice. We all do, trust me. But, we have to deal with what we've got. And Hank, I know you've been sending the videos to Matt and we've been watching. We're appreciative of that. Just keep doing what you're doing and things will fall into place. I promise you. The ice will be there at some point.
Dustin?
Great point by Mitch. Take a break. It's okay. As I mentioned, I grew up in Texas. It's a non-traditional environment. So if you can play any sort of roller hockey, those skills can transfer over. My kiddo, she likes to slide around the kitchen floor in her socks, and I've seen parallels to C cuts and shuffles doing that. But it doesn't hurt to go do some other things. And remember that you guys aren't just goalies. You're not just hockey players. You're athletes. And quite frankly, if you're a good athlete at multiple sports, you're probably going to be a good hockey player. And it doesn't hurt to be well-rounded. That's
awesome. I couldn't agree more. I think this is a good opportunity for us to kind of take a break from the rink as much as we miss it. It's great to be well-rounded. Ride bikes if you can, if mom and dad let you in your little neighborhood. Obviously, be conscious of what you're doing when you're outside. Practice good social distancing as best you can in areas. Make sure you have your covering, because health is nothing more. There's nothing more important in the world than your health. So don't take this too lightly. But, riding a bike, rollerblading is great. Running around, being active outside. Finding any way that you can just become a better athlete. That's going to be your best. That's going to be your secret to success. When we all get back on the ice, just like Mitch said, we're going to remember how to skate. We're not going to forget that. That's something that we all love to do. We all did forever. It's going to come right back. Just like Ted touched on it last week, it's not going to be your body that's going to make you not feel, welcome back on the ice. It's going to be your mind. And the mind part is going to be the most important piece of when you step back on the ice, having the confidence, having the understanding, but also having your body prepared. And I think that's where it comes down to working on flexibility, mobility, agility, hand-eye coordination drills, and everything else like that off the ice. But I really appreciate everybody joining in on the call. Mitch, thank you so much for always being a part of this. Dustin, we're really, really grateful to have your insight and your experience and your knowledge and building a relationship with you for our goalies. Goalies, stay safe, stay healthy. Make sure you guys help out around the house with chores. Make sure you're helping mom and dad. They're in a stressful situation just like we all are. So be humble, be grateful, and stay safe and healthy. We'll hopefully see everybody next week at Tuesday again at 4. I'm super psyched about next week too. We have 2 NCAA Division III coaches that are going to be on the call. We're going to be talking about just, again, climbing the ladder, getting noticed, how some of the questions that kids should be prepared to answer, some of the process that deals with the admissions and getting recruited and getting scholarships and everything else along those lines. So next week should be a really good call. Everybody stay safe, stay healthy. Dustin, Mitch, thank you so much. Goalies, we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.